Hello there, humans, of earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough to be doing it too, get a load of this. Wrap your laughing gear, your optic nerves around this big bopper, the E100. This is in fact not a review. This is not a review at all. I've already talked about the E100 before. I said, oh, but it's got so many degrees of gun depression and it goes so many kilometers an hour and it has all the degrees and the horses and the turns and the bits and the bobs and shooties and penetrations and, you know, many explosions and DPMs, and let's have some more numbers and baffle you and bamboozle. And the next thing you know, you've woken up in Venice and you're married to some Portuguese bird and you don't know how you got there, and that's what the E100 review was like. This is not that review. This is the dark arts. This is, let's talk about the sneaky crap that people get away with in this tank, how to get away with it, why it's miscast sometimes. Let's just have a bit of an op-ed think piece about the big German pie eater that's buffer than a toasted sandwich. This is the E100, and this is one man's plagiarized opinion. Because the reason I got my head turned around on this tank, and the reason I actually started thinking about it in different terms, was my good friend KS from Premo held a bit of a think piece sit-in where he got everyone from Premo in training rooms and a Discord channel and got them to go into the training rooms in different tanks against E100s, and they talked about the weaknesses of the E100, how to run an E100, what it does well, what it doesn't do well, and it really opened my eyes as to some of the stuff that he gets into with this tank, because he is so specifically engrossed in this vehicle, much like RH is with the mouse, and when I talked to Vovko about the bat chat and all that kind of thing, and Oxbow with his 215B and pretty much any tank that he actually puts his fingers on, that freak of a kid. No jealousy, all love. Because I love being surprised like that, where I try and stay across so many topics in this game and so many tanks, and I cast such a broad net, and I can know a lot about different vehicles, but sometimes people just go so specifically towards one thing and gravitate towards it. They really do uncover some interesting bits and pieces. The first thing that KS really came up with that kind of rocked me was that it's not really a good armor profile. It doesn't have a good armor profile. The armor isn't going to win you the game. It can be penetrated by pretty much any tank with Premo at tier 9, and pretty much any tier 10 with Premo is going to go straight through the cheeks like a knife through hot butter. Even most of tier 10 can get through there with calibrated shells and an AP round if they're not a medium. Like, it is really nowadays a bit of a lie to say that this is the hold the line heavy tank. It's just not. And it gets miscast as that an awful lot. Now, the reason for that issue is the cheeks. The cheeks on the turret are just not that freaking good. They are, you know, very slightly sloped 250mm cheeks, and that doesn't give you enough armor to really take hits. Why? Because surely that is actually quite a bit of armor. Well, here's the rub. It's quite a bit of armor when you're not looking directly at the target. And you can see I'm doing everything I can apart from look at the tank that I'm about to shoot. And then I turn back away from it, because you can only afford to look directly at the target that you're about to shoot for a very, very short period of time. Because when you are looking at the target in this tank, you are in fact exposing the weakest part of your armor profile. And the sloping is so slight on this tank that your armor profile is only about 280mm of armor on the front cheeks of the tank. And as you know, if you've driven any kind of tier 10 tank, there is no problem getting to 280mm. And it's one of the reasons why I drive around in the tank quite often with auto aim disabled, both in zoom and in just looking around the world mode. Like, you can see my auto aim is disabled when I'm in really close proximity to a whole bunch of enemy tanks. Because if it tracks towards a tank and I look at it directly like that E75, I'll eat one straight through the front chops. And that really resonated with me, because I knew that the tank didn't have those kind of stop 'em all abilities. But what it does have, which KS said, and which I've started using a lot of, is amazing amounts of HE. And that means that when you're firing higher explosive, you're not trying to pen, because you're not penning the front of an E75, you're just throwing it at the tank. And like I did there, I threw it at the E75 and did 300 damage. And because I didn't have to aim, I didn't have my enormous long aim time making me sit there looking at the tank for like 5.7 seconds, guess what? I was able to fire without taking any damage back, bounced a shot, and still did good damage. And this is why I started running an awful lot of high explosive in the E100, because KS told me to. And I found that fascinating. So I've hit the flat sides, I've hit the front of the tank, and now I hit the top of the turret. That's like over 1,000 damage in 3 shots with no damage back from that E75 and hardly any aiming involved at all. And that was a mental shift for me. I always knew it had good HE, but I've done it with shots like this. You can see I'm saving my guaranteed top pen if it activates crew skill for this bat chat. Watch this. The most damage you can do with HE is 1200, by the way. I know he must want this kill, so I'm going to give him a chance. There you go. Thanks very much. Thank you, mother, for the rabbits. 1200. Eat that. I saved my HE shells for tanks like that bat chat, and for the waffle tractor, they're going to hit for 1,000 in a second, and the 121 that I hit earlier for 1,000, and that's great. They're the easy targets. But you should be using HE on this tank to fight other heavy tanks. Because when you aim in with this thing, when you spend all your time looking directly at the target to make sure that the shell goes in, you are giving them the best chance they have to put damage into you. And you end up making hit point trades instead of just making easy shots. Now, I must confess, I'm not saying you never should fire AP. That's ridiculous. That's not what Bushka's saying. But I just want you to open your mind to the idea that you should carry more HE, and you should use it a lot more liberally than just waffle tractors and these kind of tanks that you know you're going to pen with high explosive, and start using it on tanks that maybe you think you wouldn't normally use it on, like E75s. Like, E75 is an incredibly well-armoured tank. He was side-scraping perfectly on mines, and I still put 400 splash onto the side of his tank. And I had to take no damage back at all, and I didn't have to expose my tank at all. And people give you those shots because they are expecting a side-scrapey McSide-scrapus and off to occur, where they will show you their side-scraping skills, and you will show them your side-scraping skills, and you'll see who's got the best skills. Screw that. Shoot him right between the eyes with a high explosive shell, and let him go and side-scrape against some other bastard who's playing World of Blitz fair. You're not playing World of Blitz fair, you're playing World of Blitz win. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing is the weak points of the E100. The E100 has a couple of really odd weak points that you probably haven't thought about. And they were news to me. One of them is the turret ring. The turret ring on this tank is a great place to shoot. If you're face hugging an E100 and you can't actually pen them, have a look down at the turret ring. If you're above them, even slightly above them, you can often pen right through the turret ring or get a deflection. Watch me hit the gun barrel of that M48A pattern here, by the way. Absolutely mad. You can get a deflection down onto the deck and get a pen, or you can just go straight through the gap between the turret and the deck and get a pen, or you can actually hit the armor which is just at the base of the turret ring, and which is actually not very well armored. If you look at the E100 model in Armor Inspector, you will see that there is a whole section at the bottom of the frontal plate that is turret ring, and it's not sloped. So where the rest of the upper plate is sloped back 250 to 279, 280, the turret ring is a flat 250, and a flat 250 millimeters of armor ain't a whole hell of a lot of armor. So that's something, again, hats off to KS. I had absolutely no inkling, and it really changed the way I think about the tank, and that's glorious. The other one is that when you're shooting at the sides of the tank, there is spaced armor. Everyone knows this. It is the big skirts that hang over the top of the wheels. Okay, there's spaced armor, and underneath the spaced armor, you have a track that has 40 thickness, whatever the hell that means. And that's all well and good. We love that. Love a bit of 40 thickness track. Sounds great. 40 thickness track is absolutely brilliant. You then have the 120 millimeters of flat side armor. I don't know why, and this is something I do as well. There is a gap of like a foot between the bottom of the skirt and the area where the side armor finishes. There is a clear foot between the bottom of the skirt and the bottom of the armor profile of the tank. And all that is in that area is a 120 millimeter of side armor, side plus, and this is the kicker, plus a bit of track. A 200 millimeter, 250 millimeter pen AP round will go through that unless it is angled perfectly. If you're wondering why I didn't put a shot in that AMX, by the way, it was because I was saving a probable 1 in 3 chance of doing an 800 roll, and there you go, put it into the side of that FV215B. So that's an area that you can actually pen. Watch this, there it is. That went not through the side, not through the red unpennable spaced armor with track behind it and then body armor behind that, angled up at 30 degrees to be 360 millimeters of, it went straight through the side of the track. Because behind that track, like midline, there is nothing there but real easy to pen territory. So this is why KS, someone with so much experience in this tank, had so much to teach, and he's taught a lot more, but those are the things that I really picked up and took away from the tank. Run more HE. Make sure you turn off your auto aim for both the standard third-person view aiming and the zoomed-in aiming. Make sure that you use all that HE to splash, so you don't have to actually have your turret, your flat turret cheeks, facing the enemy all the time in a really easy manner. Make sure that when you are face hugging an E100, if you can't get anything done on those cheeks, hit the freaking turret ring at the base of the cheeks. You will be so much happier for doing it because you will often pen them and you will go home a winner. These are the kinds of things that I love finding out about, and I've been wanting to do this video for quite some time. And in fact, I've talked to KS quite a few times about getting some footage and doing a masterclass video with him, and he still has a lot of secrets in there, and there's a lot of stuff that I would love to unlock with him and talk to him about. But I was lucky enough to be privy to this, and I was lucky enough to be involved with it, so I thought I'd pass along some of it to you, the humans, who may well make the most of it or not, depending on how the case, how the cookie crumbles. You might not even own an E100, but this sure as hell will help you in dealing with them. Anyway, I'll leave you with this game, which is a pretty close one and is a lot of fun, and I just want to say that I enjoy driving this. You can see how much HE I am using to finish tanks here. Like, it is a consistent theme with this video. Knocking the ends of tanks off. I was so torn between putting a good shot in that 57 heavy and clearing the gun of the 4202, because I know that 57 heavy looks like a really dangerous customer. And he had so many hit points left, and I thought surely that other bloke can do it, but I cleared the gun, and at the end of the day you can only hope that you make the right decision. There's an SU over there. I'm angling up again. Now I get absolutely screwed, but watch this. I have got my turret nowhere near facing the guy. It's all the way over there. And as soon as I start looking at him, I make the mistake of flattening out my angles, and he gets me straight away. I'm anticipating he's on a full reload that I'll get an SU 122 54, turn up here, I keep my angles correct, I wait for him to show, he does, a little bit greedy, and we get the kill on him, and then I get lagged the hell out here. This is so unfair. Doesn't look like lag now, it will in a second, you'll see what I mean. I'm trying to hold my angles and the tank is just not, it's just not responding, right? I'm like, what's going on, where is the tank, oh my god, here comes the tank, oh there's the tank. He rolled us to 12. Rolled us to 12 while I could not control my vehicle. God bless the E100 and all who sail upon her. There you go. I'm Bushka on Blitz. Hammer that like button, boys and girls. Stick around. Enjoy the channel. I'm off to New York on Friday, but I'm going to be doing plenty of talking in between now and then. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends. Blitz is a fantastic game. The tournament series has been really good, and I'm enjoying myself immensely. Feel like a little bit of the old Vim, Vigor, and Vinegar back in the pistol, if you know what I mean. Until next time, look after yourselves and stay safe on the battlefield.